Hi everyone, Elle Hackney here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I get to speak to everyone in the book community, whether they be authors, illustrators, podcasters, or industry professionals. But today I have an illustrator who wears many, many hats. So excited today to speak to Emma Hay, who does animation, started in film, and does picture book illustrations. Emma, there's so much to unpack here. Can you please tell me how this all came about for you?
Um, I actually had to do a talk at the high school yesterday and answer the same question, and it's sort of just been a blur over the past 10 years. I started in I studied animation, not started in animation. I studied it straight out of school. I did an animation course at CSU in Wagga Wagga, and I worked as an animator in films and games for about 3 or 4 years, I think. I believe the time sort of gets away with me there. And it was during when we were in lockdown. And I was in between jobs because just recently couldn't work at my old studio. That I sort of found through some contract work, the wonderful world of children's books illustration. Because that was a less visible career option for me. Like animation was more like it was a big shiny sort of career I was like I could see myself doing, and I really enjoyed it. But there was this sort of quieter side that really wanted to do like the children's books since I was a little girl. And it was just through some like I was some lucky contract work where I was a freelancer that I got my first like taste of illustrating, realized this is something that people do for a living, got very excited and started like looking for more and more of that work. And now I am happy to report that I do that full time. And I do have my own media company. I do still do some of the animation stuff, some marketing as well. But a lot of the work is the children's books because that's where sort of my heart is at the moment. So I feel very lucky that um, yeah, I sort of was able to find something that I really, really love when I was working in another industry that I really love. And yeah, it's just what it fits in my life really well, sort of children's books at the moment. So I'm happy to pursue that. But a lot of my animation and working in film, like, your storyboarding, and the way you are sort of taught to tell stories, like that, all of those skills have translated really lovely across to what planning children's books out. Um, and I think, and even just like when I read the children's books, I sort of see it as a film in my head, like a short animation. And I think that really helps when I'm like planning out, like I sort of think of the each page as like a scene. And that's been really great. So the skills, you wouldn't have imagined that they were as related as they are, but because I sort of dip my toe in both, yeah, it's been really cool to see how I've been able to bring those skills together. I hope that wasn't too much waffle for you.
No, because I was going to ask about that because I've interviewed a few illustrators and strictly really they've either come from a space of either like commercial art where they've designed like advertising and things like this, and they're now doing pages of a picture book. But you've gone from moving animation to picture books, and I was just curious how that translates. So for someone out there who's in the animation space, did you find you had to do any further kind of reskilling for publishing?
Yeah, I did a lot of 3D. So, and you can see in my sort of early work, that there's like a sort of a 3D ness to the how I drew. I was sort of thinking in like three dimension. So there's a lot of things like simplified things that might not work so well in film and animation. And it was really fun breaking some of those rules because the character didn't have to move. They just had to like, you could push those poses and didn't have to think, oh, can that be animated? or can we like make the character, like model the character to look like that for film. So that's been really fun. And I think yeah, you could tell like my film background was definitely like you could see that a lot more at the forefront at my with my earlier publications. But I think I definitely have a style that leans more towards like what you can do with children's books. So it's been really cool to sort of break some rules that I couldn't break before and then learn new rules. And now I sort of have like both sort of skill sets, both rule books, and I get to play with both, and that's really good because there's lots of similarities, but then there's like because they're different storytelling mediums, you can like there's different requirements of how to tell those stories. So it's been really cool to sort of add some more tools to my skill set, but they're not as separate as you might think they are.
And so breaking into publishing, I and again, I've interviewed so many authors who have had that journey of like 10 years of rejection or whatever. But your journey into publication, like working in publishing, seems to have happened so quickly. How did you break in? Did you find you submitted a lot or were you approached?
I was approached at a conference for my first traditional project, which I was very lucky. I think one of the skills I learned again from working in the animation field is they really encourage like to get jobs, you've got to be very active with networking. You've got to be very like you got to constantly be updating your portfolio and also like increasing your skills because it is quite competitive to work in the animation industry. So I think I sort of had a bit of discipline from that. And I also really valued because we were taught like start networking like when we were in university. So I knew that that was something I needed to do really early on. Um, I also think it is a little bit of right time, right art, right like right sort of piece in my portfolio, right place. So there's a little bit of that as well. Um, I definitely because I had my own little plan in my head when I was sort of like nothing ever goes to plan, but I was like I thought it would take me a little bit longer to break into publishing. Um, so yeah, I'm very grateful that that's happened a little bit earlier. And I definitely think it was just sort of reaching out and being really connected to my community. That was one of the big things that helped. And then producing just a lot of work. I was just constantly drawing and had cycling pieces out of my portfolio as I improved my skills. Um, I do this full time, so a lot of hours go into that. So that's like sort of my disclaimer. Like we all have different how many hours we can put towards whatever we're working towards. And because it's my career, I do have that luxury to like that's my full-time focus. And I think that has helped too. But it's not
Because
necessary, but that's just yeah,
yeah,
that's
well
just my
that's
my
a
path.
a new layer that you've actually added for your journey actually because you're like 17 books in or something like it's and more to come and more to come but networking let's chew on that for a little bit because I know for some people out there the thought of having to talk approach strangers or not strangers but like just people in the industry imposter syndrome all those things. Tell me your experience with networking because some days for me, as much as I come across as someone who loves to chat, there are days where I just don't. So tell
Oh
me,
yeah.
yeah, tell me your experience.
Yeah, I'm the same. I can be really shy and sometimes my brain just doesn't even like I want to talk but my brain's like I don't know what words are. I think you like if you can find like your tribe, you just need like if you have like a friend, like you have the buddy system because if I have a friend who drags me to things and then I drag them to things and we go together and that really helps. If you can find an extrovert adopt you. That really helped. I try to be the extrovert for sometimes at events. And then sometimes I'm the introvert. Um, yeah, I think it's just you don't have to like your network circle doesn't have to look massive to begin with. It can be just like someone that you like. I have a lot of people I meet in person, and then I also am increasing my like I have lots of dear friends that part of my networking as well that I talk regularly online, and we just like sometimes we just like swap frustrations about rejections or trying to figure out how to write things, or sometimes we just send messages going, writing and drawing is hard, books are hard, and that all really helps. So it's like having like those online connections is really, really great because when there are events, you might have a chance to meet each other, and then that makes it a little less scary because you're like, oh, this lovely friend I've been talking to, I get to see in person. So I think it is a bit scary putting yourself out there um, and building that network. But sort of you can do it slowly. You can just start with one person and then you might meet another person through them. Or yeah, like you might meet a few extra people if you go to an event. It's sort of like big networking doesn't happen overnight. It is just sort of being like, hi, I'm here in like your local community, or whatever communities are available online. Because if you're in this like a smaller community, maybe, and you want us to know what's going on in like more like outside regional areas, then that's when the online communities can be really great. But yeah, regional communities can also have really great, like you just don't know what like drawing club you might have there, or like there might be like a artist meetup group for coffee, like even if it's just once a month, that all really counts. So it's just yeah, it's just having a look around and being like, hello, I'm here, I do art, and then I'd like to find other creators. And yeah, going from there.
And you did mention you have a friend that you sort of bounce rejection off. How do you go with rejection as an illustrator?
I had a lot of rejection as an animator, so I had I had a tough skin already. A lot of rejection as an animator.
She's prepared.
Um, Yeah, I was prepared. They lot like because you do things like you have like dailies, which is when we all like everybody sits. It's a great practice. And it gets you used to doing feedback. So once a week you would work with because when you're making a film, there's so many people involved. And so everyone would like look at what everybody's working on and then you get feedback from that. And sometimes the feedback is you might need to reanimate that again. Um, and also like a lot of applications trying to find work in animation. Um, like you send a lot of applications out because it's slim pickings finding that kind of work. So I guess I came from like that was the norm. That was sort of what I was used to. And I was prepared. So I was like, if I'm transitioning into another creative industry, I'm assuming it's going to be quite competitive and there's going to be a lot of rejection. It does get me down sometimes, especially if it's like if there's like a piece I felt I did really well at, or some writing I felt was, I was really happy with the story. It still stings. And that's when you've got your friends and you can you'll be like, yep, rejection is kind of a pain and it's sad and you can throw yourself a pity party with a couple of pals and that's okay. It's all part of the process. And I actually had a realization when I was talking with a friend uh the other day with like when we've got a lot of submissions opened at the moment for different publishing houses, and that adds that creates a lot of optimism and a lot of excitement, and we're all going, oh, what are we submitting? But on the other side is there's going to be a lot of disappointment because only a handful will be like manuscripts will be selected. So that's quite normal. So with every opportunity, there's probably a lot more disappointment. And you're not alone in that. Like a lot of people would have submitted, and we're all kind of being feeling a little bit disheartened that it wasn't our like turn that time. And that's just normal and part of the process. And you're not alone in that. And you just give yourself permission to create in the in-betweens and, create for yourself and or create for a loved one in between. And I think giving you that you're saying yes to yourself and to creating for yourself really helps. Because that's really important too, because you've got to keep checking in with yourself and making sure that you're having fun and you're making things that are meaningful for you. And I think um, that really helps as well because it can be a long process getting that big yes. So you need lots of little yeses in the middle, and sometimes it's you who are giving you all those little yeses.
And sometimes I think when you're being authentic to you, it's even better when you do get that yes, because it's that true you shining through.
Yeah.
With so creating for yourself, see, I love that because that's exactly what I write. I write for me. Sorry, spoiler alert. But do you have a piece that you put out into the world that you absolutely loved and that was either put on the screen or put in a game or put in a book and that has just stuck with you?
Yeah, it would be my first picture book that I published. I think it was like 3 years ago. It's called The Three Little Dewdrops, and there's an illustration in it of some sunflowers. It's just a field of sunflowers, and I illustrated that when I was teaching myself um uh digital illustration, like illustration for books and how to do it digitally, because that was sort of the tool I felt suited me best. And I just remember I was sort of um like in an uncertain point in my career, and I sort of had this little dream that was like I was like sort of just drawing that for myself, and I was sort of like dreaming. I was like, this would be so fun. And it was that illustration that kind of kick-started my career in a way. It was that portfolio piece, which was just a practice piece, but it was that portfolio piece that got me some work at a publishing house and then led to me having the opportunity to illustrate a number of books and have and build my portfolio. And then it sort of just kept snowballing from there. So that piece is very special. It's definitely not my best work, but it's sort of, and I did even deliver it, like I considered maybe re-releasing some of my earlier work with updated illustrations now that I've got I know what I'm doing now. I've got experience and I can draw better. But um I don't know, that piece is special, I think, because it was the beginning. It's like part of my history. And I think it's really good. Like keep your pieces that you've grown from, because that's all that's you. That was your best a few years ago and it is part of your history. And I think that's really special. And yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to erase that. So I'm still very proud of that little book. It kickstarted a lot, and I had no idea at the time when I was like drawing it. So yeah,
Is that
very
the
special.
sunflower piece that's on your website?
Yeah, yeah, it's everywhere. I have
Yeah.
sunflowers on my lucky flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because that was one of my first things I saw when I looked at your website. I went, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" So I love your journey. I love how it's sort of unfolded for you. I love everything you're doing. So animation, doing the illustrations, doing the picture books. What do you see in your future, Emma?
I have a lot of drawing to do because I run my own illustration business called Little Boat Media. And I've got a lot of exciting projects coming out from there. So I think, and it's really exciting because I've only just started doing that full time since October last year. And these will be the first couple of books that are coming out that are just sort of me doing it on my own, because I before I had the guidance of like working with publishers. Um, so now I'm doing it on my own. So that's really exciting. It's very scary. I think it'll be really exciting to see how these first projects go, and I'm going to learn a lot from that and for the projects that are scheduled further down for the year. I do have a traditional contract that I'm working on as well. So I'm really excited when that um, gets out into the world. Um, so I guess it's just seeing what happens after those bits. They're like my big steps of like running my own business and the books that come from that, and then my first traditional title and what happens after that. So I think I don't actually know what will happen beyond those two. I'm actually excited to see. I probably should have a plan, but I'm like, the plan is to get those things finished and see how they go. And then I will readjust, re-steer the ship, if and see if I become, the best seller ever, or if I need to figure out how to like if there's something I can improve, or um yeah, like I guess I'm just really open to what opportunities might come from the work I'm working on now. It's books take a long time to do, so it's hard to yeah, like tell how they're gonna land at the end of that all that work.
No, I couldn't imagine. Oh my gosh, it does. It takes months. And do you have
Yeah.
any advice from somebody? So for anyone out there watching this video, whether they haven't even started to illustrate or they're thinking about animation or just listening to you going, oh my gosh, there's so many roads I could take. Do you have advice for anyone watching today who's interested?
I think when you're creating, you should be creating for like yourself in a way, creating the things that you love. I definitely have had times where I've sort of created what I think other people would like. And and there is a place and a time for doing that. But I think the happiest I've been in my career and the better opportunities I've had was when you could sort of see my authentic self coming through my art. Um, and that's just from learning what I really enjoy doing and what I really enjoy creating. And it also because it can be a lonely path sometimes because we all have those moments when we're like creating art by ourselves, um, late into the night or early in the morning. Um, so if you're making something you really enjoy and that brings you, like it sparks that joy of creation, that's really important. And I always tell everyone who's starting, give yourself permission to create. Say, yes, I'm going to make something for myself. Yes, I love making things because I know when you're working in the creative industry, we're always hoping for yeses from different, like from a publisher or the next job or working on a film, or funding for something, and there's a lot of rejection. So in between, you've got those many yeses are often those little yeses that keep you going. A lot of them have to come from yourself. So always say, yes, I'm giving myself permission to create. And I think that's really helped because I said, yes, I'm going to draw that like draw those sunflowers and I didn't know what that would lead to. And I think lots of other um authors or illustrators or animators, they have like a yes that they said to themselves that led to something that they could probably reflect on and share. So you maybe even can go ask someone, what was your yes to that led to somewhere?
I love that. As you're saying that, I'm going, oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Emma, thank you so much for joining me today. If anyone out there wants to contact you, Little Boat Media, learn more about you, buy your books, where can we find you? How can we contact you?
I have my website, littleboatmedia.com. You can find all my books there and my portfolio and everything, and also some of my animation. You can also find me on Instagram at Emma Hey Illustrator, sorry. That's my Instagram tag. That's the social media I'm most active on. Yeah, so that's the two places I hang around the most.
Love it. Thank you so much today for joining me, Emma. It's been fantastic to learn about your journey. And I hope to have you back on the show soon because it sounds like we've got even more to speak about. I don't even think we touched the surface. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It was really fun.